but to just like talk and not receive any feedback like it is when I stand here and I talk from me to this to the camera, it's hard, it's weird. And I think I said that in the last video probably a couple times, and I had a decent amount of people, especially people I didn't expect to reach out, who all kind of said the same thought of keep doing that, embrace that weirdness, that awkwardness, that anxiety of just standing in front of a camera and talking. It's interesting, and I think I find it personally a little more engaging. The last thing I want is to create a video that's boring for me to film, because it's going to be boring to watch. And so with that last video, for all of you who checked it out, for all of you who liked, you commented, you subscribed, even just texted me about it and hyped me up or told me it was cool or you were proud of me or whatever variation, thank you. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Because it's awkward to just like stand here and talk and try to have a storyline and hit all these key points, and I'm learning. I expect probably the first 50 or 60 of these to be pretty awkward until I figure out what I want my whole vibe to be with these. And now the location, baseball field. I've recorded this a couple times prior, and originally my kind of why am I standing here was I have no affiliation with baseball. I wanted to shoot somewhere else. It didn't look good. And then I was like, I'll shoot on a tennis court because it aesthetically is pleasing. And there were 7 people there, and I just didn't want to set up a camera and talk to it while I have people playing tennis and staring at me, because that felt a little too real. So then I wandered over to this baseball field, and I was, the pitch was like, hey, pitch, no pun intended, haha. The pitch was, I didn't play baseball. I don't care about baseball. And I started to tell the story of this whole shoot that I'm going to explain. And then I realized that when I originally hit up my friend and asked him, the idea was to actually put him at an abandoned baseball field, or the front part of it. I'll throw it up on Google Maps if I can find it, so you'll see why I thought it looked interesting. But yeah, so kind of full circle weird moment where I was like, this does kind of tie together weirdly enough. So I shot these photos over the summer. So 2 things. One, it is super hot in Texas during the summer. It is hot, it is humid, it's gross. So me, who likes to shoot in harsh sunlight or just not, the best conditions, it's too hot to do that. You can do it, but you sweat, and it's just not fun. And then if you have a car that's prone to overheating, or a car that doesn't have AC, or all these things, it's just not an enjoyable experience. So with that, I was shooting a lot in the summer of kind of finding my groove back, finding the things I liked shooting, the things I didn't. And one of those things is I like conceptualizing things beyond, hey, we're going to take a photo of your car in front of a wall, or hey, we're going to take your photo to In-N-Out and park it up and make a whole set. Now, I've done those, and I think everybody has. And I think the 2 ways it splits in my brain is you have somebody who likes snapping photos, and you have somebody who likes making art. And I think the difference, at least for me personally when I look at it, is when you snap some photos, it could be at a car show, it could be at, a city and you're just downtown wandering around. It could be a cute dog you see running around in a baseball field. That's snapping photos. And then you have, creating a piece of art. You conceptualize it, you have this idea, this vibe, this theme, this something about it where it's more than just, park here, click, go over there, click. You make it this cohesive thing. And I think that key difference is really what I've tried to like hone into, of less just snapping photos and more creating something. So I was in that mood over the summer to shoot, and I had a friend who filmed some of like the BTS footage that I'm going to be like splicing through this, who's learning. He was learning then, he's still learning now. And I wanted to get him around, some cool people, some cool cars, just kind of not introduce him, but be like, my connections are your connections, and, just all about community, all about just like sharing the spots I found, the cars I've, been able to shoot, the owners I've had the privilege to meet. So I was like, hey, tag along, come shoot with me. And then I asked him if he would shoot a little bit of BTS, because I actually wanted to start doing these videos over the summer and then just didn't get around to it, and had that anxious feeling and a plethora of other reasons. So yeah, with that, I'm going to kind of explain how I shoot, what I do, kind of give some insights and try to give some examples of what I'm talking about as I talk about it. So originally, or at least not originally, with most of my shoots, I have one location in mind. I say, like, this is the spot I want to shoot at, and then I have a few backup locations around it. It might be a spot here and then a spot there, and they're 2 minutes apart. It might be a spot here and a spot there, and they're 15 minutes apart. It just kind of depends where you are. It kind of depends what you're shooting for, how much time you have, all these things. So I had an idea, and I was like, I really don't shoot a lot of sunsets, and I really don't shoot a lot of golden hour. So I was like, hey, it's a black Porsche. It's on silver wheels. I was like, I think these will look cool, golden hour, sunset. And I've shot this car a bunch. If you know me, if you know Leo, who owns this car, you'll know that we've taken a plethora of photos of his cars, and at many, many different vast locations. This one was going to be more like of a simple vibe, a simple idea. And yeah. And so I hit him up, and I was like, hey, I'm in the mood to shoot. I'm going to be bringing someone with me. Let's shoot kind of near where you are, so we don't have to drive 45 minutes across town. And then I started looking around on Google Maps. And like I said, originally the place I found was this, I don't know if it was abandoned or just shut down, but it was like a baseball sporting place. It was a park, but it wasn't like a dog park and a basketball field, a soccer field and a basketball court and a baseball field. It was like all for baseball. Whatever that entailed, it was all for that. So I found on Google Maps, and I was like, maybe this will be interesting. Like, you kind of have like the abandoned vibes with like a Porsche. It could look cool. And so I looked at other locations around it. I found a few potentials, but I was like, I think this is the vibe I want. So I get there, and it just looks terrible. It doesn't look how I wanted it to look. It didn't look how I wanted to shoot something there. And I just felt like uninspired with it. It was pretty boring, pretty flat. The gates were old and rusty. It just wasn't cool. So I started driving around, and I went to my first potential spot, which was this little like strip of road, ironically like right behind this like baseball complex. But it had like these beautiful, like, I don't know if they were sunflowers. I don't think they were sunflowers. I think they were just wild yellow flowers. But like this one side of the road, it was just all these beautiful flowers. And then the other side of the road was just like grass and like, just like very aesthetically pleasing. So I looked at it, and I was like, this could be cool. But I was like, this isn't going to look cool for golden hour. I was like, this needs a sunset, and hopefully a really good sunset. Because with Texas, sunsets are decent here, but they're not California. They're not Pacific Northwest. They're not Hawaii. They are really, hit or miss. You will either have this like bluey, pinkish, just blah in the sky, or you'll have this crazy extreme of colors and vibes in the sky. And I feel like there's no real in between. And I've lived a decent amount of places to know and to like see some good sunsets. Texas just like doesn't have them. So it was a spot I'm looking at, and I go, if we get a sunset, this spot will hit. And if we don't, this spot is going to look like crap. And so I had that in the back of my head. And then about 2 minutes down the road, there was this little white barn where, again, pretty simple, but I was like, with golden hour and the way the sun was kind of setting and coming in, I was like, it's going to bounce off the car, it's going to bounce off the white barn, and it should just look like really nice, really pleasing. And so I decided, after seeing my original spot not look good, I decided that I'm going to shoot there. I'm going to go to the barn, and we're going to shoot there, and then if we get a sunset, we're going to go back to that little strip of road and finish it out there. So we get out to this barn, and, you know, the photos are great. I like them. I think they're pretty. There's like 2 photos in there that I like genuinely love. One is like a really far away shot, and the other is like a detail of like the wheel, and it just has this nice like golden like refraction on it, both from a Pro Mist filter and then just from the way the sun was hitting. But it didn't like scratch that itch. So then we drive over to the little road with the flowers, and we're standing there, and the sunset hadn't fully kicked in. There was enough like color in the sky where I was like, this could happen, this could be something, but it wasn't like this is guaranteed to be super pretty. So we park the car, we get it set up, and all of a sudden sunset just starts hitting. Looks incredible, looks beautiful. So then it's like game on at that point. If you're a photographer and you've ever shot during a great sunset, you know that feeling. One, you're racing the clock of how long you have that color, and 2, just everything looks pretty. I mean, that's why we like sunsets, right? Like it's pretty, it looks cool. There's so much you can do with it in post, and it's just one of those times where you're like, wow, like I'm genuinely lucky, not only to shoot photos and do this and have fun, but I'm genuinely just lucky to be walking this earth and, you know, having the ability to do anything. I take that for granted a lot, and I'm working on not. So it's just like that appreciation. So yeah, sunset starts hitting, and it's go time. You know, we start shooting these photos. My friend's shooting the BTS for me, and I think with this, it's where it kicks in to where all of the cars I've shot over the years kind of, you know, it's repetition. You know, if you take 1,000, 10,000, 1,000,000 free throws, you have your form, you have your way you do things. You know, there's a mannerism to it, there's a vibe to it. And it's the same with like shooting photos. You know, you shoot similar angles, you shoot similar like focal lengths, or you shoot, you know, up tight and close, you shoot far away. You know, you have this thing you do that is innate to like your photos. And I think it's how a lot of people can tell photos between the two. You know, from like my photos versus someone like my friend Tyler's photos. You know, if we're shooting the same thing or if we're not shooting the same thing at all, you see like he leaves his mark in a certain way and I leave mine in a different way. And you take and you borrow and you learn things from other people, but you, at the end of the day, have the way you do things. And so I think that repetition helps when you have something like a sunset, or you have like crazy fog coming in, or just something that's not going to last forever. It kind of kicks in, at least for me, where I know what angles I want to get, what photos I want to get. And when I get them, there's a moment of knowing like when to call it. You go, okay, I've got my photos. You stop overshooting. You stop trying to chase a photo you're never going to get. You go, I've got what I've got. I'm happy with these. That's it. And you stop. And again, that's something learned and kind of developed over the years, is when to stop. It's the same with editing. You know, there's a point where you go, you know, this photo is done. Even if you're, you know, not 1,000% happy with it, or you think it needs more. Sometimes you just need to let it sit. And so with that comes like just how I shoot. A lot of my photos are very, very far away. I like to shoot kind of the same way that I like frame like these videos up. I like you to see my scene. I like, obviously I'm the subject in this, but if a car was parked here, instead of putting a car right here and being this close to camera, I might put the car, all the way over there by that sign. And it blends into it sometimes, but it also is more about the location and the feeling than it is about just like, oh, here's a Lamborghini parked right here, just in your face. And there's nothing wrong with shooting, that tight and that up close and in your face. It's just not the vibe for me. So that's kind of how I shoot. I like that style. I like that view. And I don't know whose photos I had seen at the time with sunset photos, but I really liked however they looked. And so I tried to kind of emulate that in the edit. I wanted this moody, faded blacks and, colorful sunset and, the pops from the yellow of the flowers on the side. So I get into like shooting these things and I'm going, my angles need to like show one of those. It needs to show the sunset from whatever way I'm shooting the car. It needs to show the flowers if I'm on, the side that you can see the flowers. And then it also needs to show the entire encompassed area. I need to see my location. And now it's not the craziest location. There's not like mountains in the background, or there's not like a volcano or like a UFO flying through the sky. But like you want to, at least for me, you want to show off that frame, that scene. And again, it kind of goes back to the conceptualizing of the photos, where it goes from you snapping a photo to you like creating a piece of art. And especially when it's somebody else's car and somebody else's time, you want to make something for them where they look at it and then they want to look at it again. They want to show it to people. They want to share it. They want to get it printed, framed, set as their computer wallpaper at work, whatever, And so I kind of go in with that mentality. So while I'm shooting, at least for this shoot, because we were going quick with the sunset, I focused a lot on getting the close-up shots that I wanted of like the whole car, and then the far away shots that I wanted, again, of like the whole car, but the location as well. After I got those, I kind of go into like shooting details. I look for the way that things are, reflecting on like maybe the hood of the car, or reflecting, and off the sky hitting the windshield. I look at how I can shoot the wheels of the vehicle, to where you can see like in this sense, the flowers in the background, or you can see like the road and the sunset. You shoot the wing of the car, to where like you see that color in the sky, like coming over it. You start looking at all of those details and realizing that there's a lot of like potential with what you're doing. You can shoot, up high looking down on the car. You can shoot really down low, looking back up to the car. You kind of just find your way with it, and you find your own place in the way you like to do things. And also like stay inspired from the people that you see that also shoot photos. Doesn't necessarily have to be like car photos. I've learned a lot of things from watching how like landscape photographers do stuff, or street photographers, or portrait photographers, or even just like when you're watching movies, like how a director frames something up, or the color choices he uses to elicit like a certain emotion. You can learn a lot from a lot of different artists like standpoint, but also like find your own thing, find your own style of the way you shoot. And I promise you, like, people will recognize it. People will look at it and be like, oh, that's so-and-so's work because they do this, or that's so-and-so's work because they edit this way. And there's a grander feeling to that when somebody recognizes your work based upon, the time and energy you've put in to like shoot a certain way or edit a certain way or all these things together, because then you feel like it's actually your own photo, or your own like your own concept. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. You want to portray what you saw in your head or the idea that you saw from a movie or whatever. You want to portray that back out. You have it here and you want to get it out physically and be like, this is the idea. So with that, have fun, go out and shoot. Again, my DMs are always open if you have any questions. I can't always answer them, but I try my best to, especially after I see like a couple come in. I try to go down the list and get to them all. But also, like, if you have questions and I'm not there to answer them or whatever, hit up other photographers, hit up other people. Most people that I've found, if you come at them with kind of the right attitude, the right vibes, they're down to answer your questions. Now, don't sit there and go, I need this location and I need this car and can you introduce me to this owner and can I get your presets? That's a rough way of hitting somebody up that you've never spoken to. But if you go like, hey man, I really like how you do this thing. Would you be down to like show me or explain it, or even just tell them you appreciate the way they do something and see where it goes. Go with them on a shoot, talk to them as a friend, make connections. Connections are everything, especially in an artist space. Go out and shoot something, have some fun with it, enjoy it. Again, I still don't really know how to end these, so I'm